Yo, what's going on, guys? Seth Spartan here, nutrition training, hormone expert, and Prometheus Pro bodybuilder. Guys, I'm with IFBB Pro Matt Fry. Today he's going to be telling you what his favorite training splits are. So Matt, take it away.
Well, I don't really have a training split that's my favorite, but what I try to do is change things up. So if I go to the gym one week and I'll train maybe chest and triceps, the next week I might come back and train chest and biceps, or this stuff like that, where I'm constantly trying to change to keep my body guessing. If I train arms, maybe I'll do biceps first and then triceps first and biceps. It just
On different days, you'll
yeah,
switch
different
it.
days.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing is I don't think there's one split that's better than the other. It's just it all comes down to doing different things and keep your body guessing. And as far as the rep range goes, I'd always stay in that 8 to 12 rep range.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so again, Matt likes rotating his splits. So, 1 week he might do back and biceps, classic old school split, and then another week he might just do, he'd do back by itself, or he would do chest by itself, or he would do, 1 week just focus on arms. So he's constantly switching between, doing basically a multi-split where he does more than one thing at one time, and then also doing a single where, you have a day and you're focusing on one thing. But I guess the take-home message is that it changes. There's no one perfect split, and I would agree with that because we're all different, and the thing is our body changes too,
You do have to pay attention to certain things because you might find something that does work better than something else, and you just have to pay attention. But that doesn't mean just because you find that one thing that does work, don't just stick with that one thing. I mean, you still want to change it up, but you might want to incorporate that a little bit more than something else.
Yeah, I will say though too, this is important to say, and I think Matt's going to agree with me on this. Tell me if you don't. But basically, the common bodybuilding notion and the fitness world notion is reversed. They usually tell you the more advanced you get, the more you need to do, the more you need to do. But it's kind of the opposite, because the bigger you get, the more you need to focus on individual things. Like when I started out lifting, I could do chest, back, arms, and shoulders all in one go. But then the bigger you get, the more muscle you put on. Even when I was at my peak, you do legs, you're shot. You would even do, I would have a hard time doing chest and triceps sometimes because, you're lifting a lot bigger weights than when you start. So you almost need to focus on things more the bigger you get. Not saying you always do that. Matt's saying he rotates. He changes things up like that. But I think that should be said too, that the bigger you get, it's going to be harder to do, like chest and back, for example. That'd be a killer split. Not that you couldn't do it, but it would be a lot harder split doing that if you're 250 pounds versus 150 pounds. Let's let Matt tell you guys a little bit about the rep schemes he likes and what like let's say you were training take one of your splits and explain what you would start out with and what you would kind of like what it would look like.
Well, if I'm going to go in there and train arms for the day,
Okay.
and if I start out with biceps, I might just warm up with one exercise for biceps, and then I'll go into maybe a superset or even a tricep. It just depends on the day. And usually I'm in that, most of the time for that first exercise, I'm in that 8 to 12 rep range. And then when I get into my supersets, stuff like that, I might go 12 to 15 reps. It just depends on how I'm feeling, and everybody likes that pump. So
Yeah, or if you're training chest, Matt was talking about if he was training something like chest, he might start with 2 exercises that are heavier, and you're going kind of more to failure.
Going heavier, yeah.
And then you might end with something higher reps, more of pump work.
Yeah. So basically, what you're doing is you're taking these heavier lifts and you're using those to break down the muscle. You're tearing the muscle fibers, and then after you've done that, that's when you want to get into your supersets and trisets and really push that blood into there. And it's going to help the healing process and all the nutrients that you've eaten before and then after is going to help shuttle all that into the muscle that you just tore apart.
Yeah, and that's not what I do now, but I've done that for years. In fact, when I was I want to say when I was at my biggest, that's kind of what I would do. You know, that's not what I do now for a couple other reasons, but you know, it's a good method. Like for example, you know, you're training chest, you do a flat bench, you do incline, you go really heavy, you know, to failure, like you heard Matt say, and then after that you go on a different machine, either a machine press or fly, you know, whatever's kind of fitting. And you're gonna do more reps, more for pump work
Yep,
at
get
the
the
end.
volume in there.
So you kind of get you know, both sweet spots really.
It's the best of both worlds.
So yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I did that for a long time, and you know, it works. But make sure also you're not, you know, doing too much that you can't move your arm across your chest, and then you're actually stopping your recovery. So
I mean, as you get more involved in training and better at it, it's going to become a lot easier for you guys.
yeah.
You just have to pay attention. That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, but there you go. Matt's talking about his favorite splits. He doesn't have one. You change them, and you do. You know, it's good to change them. It's good, and I would agree with that. Your body changes, and there's nothing wrong with doing different things, and it'll keep the gym more fun too. You know, I trained. You know, for years I trained legs as a whole together, and then I switched to doing quads and hamstrings. And then sometimes I said, you know what, I'm just going to come in and I'm going to focus on just quads. And I had some of the best workouts too. So you can switch things around, and you should. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, that's pretty much it for training splits. And Seth Spartan, Matt Fry, and we are out of here.